The heartbreak in Washington. That's what we're calling yesterday's game for the Chicago Bears. And with some time now removed from it, we're going to talk about a little bit of the takeaways. Tyrique Stevenson's decision that has left the city of Chicago angry, and why the coaching staff for the Chicago Bears should also be pretty damned embarrassed. We're going to talk about all that, plus dive a little bit into the mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Terry Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content yesterday, and I am sure by now so many people have seen the video that got released shortly after the game of Tyrique Stevenson taunting fans in Washington on the final play where he ended up tipping the ball on the Hail Mary that the Washington Commanders scored their one and only touchdown on the Chicago Bears too. And to Tyrique Stevenson's point, he's come out to it. He did talk about and apologize for his lack of awareness and focus in a tweet. And he's going to have to apologize to his teammates as well. Now, make no mistake about it. It's not only on him, but when you are literally caught on the same play taunting and then you tip, like it just, and it wasn't the best game for Tyrique Stevenson either when it came down to it. So, you know, there's a lot of things that have to be developed in that case like that. But this is a wake-up call. This is the trial by fire, the embarrassment that may be needed. Jaquan Brisker's gone through it. We had a game, I think it's Jaquan Brisker's second year in which he was taunting and then ended up giving up a big play himself. You know, can't remember if that was the game-winning play or not. But so it happens, right? It happens. More than I think people, know, or more than it's always caught sometimes as well. But when it comes down to it, Tyrique Stevenson got to be better in a case like that. And this is the type of thing that maybe he needed this to never make that mistake again. You cannot until the buzzer's at zero, unless you have like a 20-point lead on the final possession. You cannot get that cocky in a situation like that. And yeah, it ended up being in this one that he gave up the play. But even if it wasn't, what if it was another one, or they just connected on a crazy play, right? You got to wait for that. And so, Tyrique Stevenson, like I said, is going through his trial by fire right now, rightfully so. He deserves every bit. There's no defense for it. I'm not going to try to defend him at all in there. Tyrique needs to be better. But coming now out of that, we get to talk about the game a little bit. And I think one of the biggest things, and we'll get into the winners and losers and performances in this game, but this is a black eye on the Chicago Bears coaching staff. And this is the Bears coaching staff, in my opinion, being exposed a little bit. When you look at it, when it comes down to it, like, this is not a place where your team should have been, right? You shouldn't have been there. You shouldn't have been in a spot like this. And every single time the Chicago Bears have been on national media in recent history, we've gotten embarrassed. Every time the Bears have an opportunity to show the world, hey, the things that we're doing down here in Chicago is working, they end up shitting the bed. That's just what's happened every time. And ultimately, the win and loss record, the overall success of this team goes right or wrong to your head coach. Now, Shane Waldron ain't going to escape out of this unscathed either, not by any stretch of the imagination. But you got to look at the decisions that's made. This front office is going to have, depending on where the season ends, a serious conversation on what to do with this coaching staff. They just have to. Now, we got a voicemail on it later on, and we'll go more into that on that voicemail. But I think you just got to listen, they had 3 days of deliberation last offseason. Hey, and they're probably going to have it again. And that's not to say that the Bears have not had successes, right? We have. But the thing that with the Bears right now is that the Bears keep punching down to competition, meaning that when we face off against the worst competition, yeah, we look damn good, right? But we need to get to a place to where we have the consistent execution level against all teams, regardless of the caliber. The Bears still don't have an identity, right? And so while things have been looking up for all the pessimism that's been surrounding the Bears and saying, well, the Bears they have this record, they've looked this good, they've gotten better, Caleb was improving because we've been facing off against bad defenses. Listen, we couldn't take advantage of a Washington Commanders secondary that is not the greatest secondary in the world, right? Now, we have an opportunity in the next 2 weeks to punch down again, hopefully gain some rhythm. But like I've been saying, you can only avoid the big test so long. Listen, after week 8, you got 2 more weeks, my boy. After week 11. You got 2 more weeks, my boy. And after that, listen, there is no more hiding against bad competition other than one game against Seattle on that stretch. You got to get your shit together. You got to get your shit together. And so, listen, this was a bad game for the play calling. You cannot like Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron deserve to get a lot of the criticism to come out of this game. You just do. You had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. An awful first quarter, right? We've been awful in first quarters for the majority of the season, but listen, that falls on your coach. You got to be prepared. You got to have the best, not necessarily the best you should look, but like when you got 2 weeks of preparation for one opponent, 2 weeks that you've been able to focus on to get your shit in gear, to get your things in order, and you come out like that, listen, it's bad. And then, listen, reportedly, Matt Eberflus is sponsoring for hiring Shane Waldron, right? And Shane Waldron called an absolutely shitty-ass game yesterday. A shitty game yesterday. And so really the only bright spot when you look at, well, there's 2 bright spots in this game for the Chicago Bears yesterday. One is also one of the duds, but we'll talk about it, right? DeAndre Swift, yet again, another huge day. 18 rushes for 129 yards. He has 90-plus rushing yards in 3 of the past 4 games. The offense looked like absolute shit for most of that game. And listen, it was a 56-yard touchdown run, and he got this shit together. Like, the Bears' offense yesterday was in large part DeAndre Swift. And while DeAndre Swift got a lot of his criticism to start the season and how it started for him, Swift has been a dog. And you got to give it out for that. And so, once this Bears team learns to figure out some things, have better play calling as well, right? Hand the ball off as well, get those things under gear. This Bears offense can look really good, but DeAndre Swift is really the lone bright spot for this offense. And there was another one, and I'm going to give this one a little bit of credit. Caleb Williams looked terrible throughout the majority of the game. You cannot I'm not going to hear any excuses about Caleb. Caleb looked terrible. He looked terrible. In the matchup against number 1 and number 2, he came out at the shit end of that. That was a terrible performance by Caleb Williams. But even with that, Caleb Williams did do one good thing. He led a fourth quarter, what was supposed to be a game-winning drive. And on that drive, Caleb Williams made some really good decisions. Now, Shane Waldron's bad decisions and running decisions, things like that, absolutely reared its ugly head for absolute sure. But I'm going to give Caleb Williams some credit for how that final, because the drive before that, we were moving the ball too, then we end up getting on a turnover. But the fourth quarter, Caleb Williams understood, hey, this is our opportunity to win this game. Let me step up. And he did. He made some really good passes, some key ones in there to DJ Moore, to Keenan Allen. He made some really good passes over that time, and he led a drive in that fourth quarter that should have won the game. That does not excuse his statistic performance in yesterday's game because it was awful, but I got to give him credit that if it wasn't for a mistake by the defense, we would be talking about Caleb Williams doing something that we just haven't seen in Chicago in a long time, driving a fourth quarter game-winning drive and pulling out the game. Now, we didn't get the win, but he still gets a little bit of credit. That was still one of the best things that we saw overall last night was that drive led by Caleb Williams, but Caleb got to be better. There's no excuse for that either. Caleb Williams has to be better in every type of matchup, but especially in these marquee matchups. You want to be a guy. You said that you want to go down as the greatest of all time, one of the GOATs, one of the greatest to ever do this. That's not, and again, he's a rookie. I understand it. You guys know I've been a little bit more lenient on Caleb than most people. But Caleb got to be better, and you got to take that away from this game. You have to be better. There's no excuses for that. But like I said, the lone positive is really DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift on that offensive side of the ball gave so much for the Chicago Bears. He was the Bears' offense for a long stretch of that. But then, other things. The offensive line, after having 3 weeks of improving, man, the offensive line, listen, maybe it never got better. Maybe the fact is that the offensive line just fared better against the weaker competition. But if Ryan Poles was thinking about making a move on the offensive line before the trade deadline, this just solidified it. It got to happen. It got to happen. Listen, the Commanders' defense overwhelmed the Bears' offensive line throughout most of that game. It looked like the early season games that we saw. Caleb Williams was sacked twice. Only sacked twice, which is good. But listen, Braxton Jones left. Tevin Jenkins left during the point of the game. So, of course, there's that aspect, too. But this offensive line performed like absolute shit. And if this season came down to Tevin Jenkins' extension coming to his performance and health, I think we may have to start preparing ourselves, if you haven't already, that Tevin Jenkins is probably not going to be a Chicago Bear when it's all said and done with this. It just isn't. Of course, Tyrique Stevenson, we already talked about Tyrique Stevenson, but it's more than just that. Like, he had a nice pass breakup at one point in time, but he got burned by Terry McLaurin. He got the Hail Mary, which was one on that. Like, Tyrique Stevenson just didn't overall have a good game, but that last play to that, tipping that ball to Noah Brown, it just made it even worse. And so, overall, the offense as a whole was a negative. If it wasn't for Tory Taylor, we would have been in a lot worse situation consistently as well. Tory Taylor keeps showing that it's paying off for him in a little bit. He had 7 punts for 341 yards. He's averaging 48.5 yards per punt in this time and a 68-yarder as well. Listen, he put that team inside the 20-yard line 5 times, and that helped the Chicago Bears defense tremendously. It helped it tremendously. And the defense is the only other positive, right? The defense keeping the Washington Commanders out of the end zone except for once. Now, it sucks that one time was on the game winner, but for the most part, the defense did what needed to be done. And again, like I always say, you shouldn't have to be perfect as a defense. Now, you can't give up that type of play either. That's inexcusable. You got to get it together. But this performance overall was bad. It was just bad overall. DeAndre gets an A for what he was able to do. DJ Moore getting hit hard, toughed out of injury. He gets a positive. Him and Rome had a pretty solid games as well. But, it can only do so much when your quarterback's playing as bad as it has. The defensive line did some things, man. It put some decent pressure out there on Jaden Daniels as well. That's what you can do. You're not always going to have the huge sack numbers. The secondary was okay yesterday. Didn't live up to my expectations, but we know we were missing Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon, which are a very important part. And I think that we did an okay job against the run. Not a great job against the run, but an okay job against the run. But the biggest losses in this is Shane Waldron, Matt Eberflus, and Caleb Williams. You got to be better. You just have to be better in games like this. And if you're unable to be better, the Bears aren't going to even sniff an opportunity to win the playoffs. Because really, if we just live off punching down the competition, we only got 3 more punch down games left on this record, on this season. Every other game is about to be tough as shit for the Chicago Bears. So, hey, we'll see what happens, man. Overall, hopefully the Bears use this as a wake-up call, take a moral victory from it at some point, and just a pride victory in fixing their shit. Yeah, you got to get it together, man. You got to get it together. And the bigger question is now is that what does Ryan Poles, after seeing a game like this against one of the better teams in your conference in the NFC, what do you need to do now? Do you feel like you need to go out there? If we see Ryan Poles go out and make a move for Brad Sheriff or Wyatt Teller, if we see them go out and do that, it's because he saw this offensive line and he saw, hey, we were improving, but we still suck. We need more firepower. We need more help, especially even after getting Ryan Bates back. And if he's aggressive of going out there and doing it, I'm not going to be mad at it because, listen, we need some. We need to leave here with some. And that internal development doesn't seem like it's going to be as consistent as what it looked like as it could be one point in time. So let me know what you guys think on that down below. But in talking about letting me know how you can think, one way you can do that is sending in voicemails. We got 2 voicemails today. This one's from Thaddeus.
Yo, man, this is Thaddeus from the South Side, Chicago, West Chatham, man. I just want to say, man, this is crazy, man. I mean, the way they lost, man. Tyrique Stevenson, man, what is wrong with this kid? I mean, first of all, man, not only Tyrique Stevenson, I can't even blame the defense as much, but him particularly, especially with that Hail Mary and that stupid other call he got near the goal line earlier. Tyrique Stevenson, man, you in the doghouse for real. Okay. Bruce, the coach, oh, man, this is it, man. I mean, at this point, the Bears, in order for them to even make a wild card, man, they got to split at least with everybody in the division. And who knows how that's going to go. And Arizona is a must-win. I mean, come on, man. You don't have to beat Arizona now. I mean, if you even want to think about the wild card. I mean, right now, it's really hard because the tiebreaker will go to Green Bay because they beat Houston. And then Washington, we lost to them, man. I mean, man, I can't believe they lost this game like that, man. And Shane Waldron, man, we can't forget about that. Come on, man. You did the same shit in Indianapolis, man, trying to be cute with them plays, man. Just give it to Roshan, man. Just let Kramer, man, make a hole. Give it to Roshan, man. Come on, man. As a matter of fact, man, Waldron, man. I mean, I don't know, man. I would hate to see the Bears do the same thing. Get rid of a coach, get a new offensive coordinator. Then you got a rookie on a rookie contract, man. We doing the same shit over and over. What we did with Mitch Trubisky. Justin Field. Hell, that was the case. We should have kept Field. We should have kept him and just build around him, man, and trade the people. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, we got Caleb now. That's cool. But, man, he ain't got no time to throw. If you look at it, man, he ain't got no time to throw. And, of course, he shook up. I ain't making no excuses for him because he was holding the ball too long, but the man shook up. He ain't got no time to throw. I mean, look at all these other games, man. I mean, Jay Daniels, man, even though he got pressure sometimes, but he had time to throw. I mean, but not only him, man. I mean, you could even look at the San Francisco game, Dallas game, man. Brock Purdy have time to throw, even though they got a better line. But, man, you know, Chicago Bears got to do some soul searching. You had 2 weeks to prepare for this. This the product you put on the field? Man, this is sad, man. I'm almost ready to say, hey, don't even do nothing at the trade deadline. Just keep all your draft picks. For real, for real. Keep all your
Tyrique Stevenson absolutely is in the doghouse, as he should freaking be in the doghouse. Tyrique Stevenson has to be better. He knows better than this. He has to get his shit together. And like I said before, we've seen players have embarrassing moments, embarrassing plays, and hopefully it puts him enough in a situation where he's like, I never want to feel this again. I never want to let my team down like that again. I never want to be caught with my pants down like that again. You got to be better than that. And so, you know, Tyrique Stevenson, he's in the doghouse. He's going to go through it for the next week or so, and hopefully he comes out next week on the field and has another one of big Tyrique Stevenson type games, because if he does, that can help a lot. We need a big game against Arizona. We need a big game against Arizona. Tyrique, you owe us that now. You owe us that. Now, as far as the Bears having to beat Arizona and at minimum split their division, that's the way that it's looking. Like, the NFC is close. The NFC North is close, right? Everything's right in there. The Bears got to be fully prepared and locked in for the ending part of this season. You don't have a letdown. I don't care what the team in front of you, what their record is. The Bears need to go out there like every single game is a win or go home scenario. That's how you need to play this game. That's the mentality that you need to have to finish this season for the Bears. You went through it with your easy team, your easy schedule. You got the toughest schedule left remaining in the NFC. Get your fucking shit together. That's what the Chicago Bears have to do. If they can do it, great, right? But overall, Matt Eberflus, Shane Waldron, they got to be better as well. And one thing that I did forget to mention, Chad, the offensive line coach, it's time for a new offensive line coach as well. I think that's a thing at the end of this season. If Eberflus and Shane Waldron keep their jobs, you're going to see that offensive line coach is going to be made the scapegoat. He is going to be made the scapegoat, and he's going to have to get the hell up out of here regardless of that. But overall, this Bears team got to lock in over the remaining part of this season. And like I said it before, I can't wait to see what Ryan Poles does or does not do at that trade deadline, because I think that's going to be hugely important to how this Bears team finishes this season. All right, let's get into the next voicemail, man. This one is from Brad.
Hey, Cognac boys, yiggity yak, don't talk back. This is your boy Brad calling from Northern California by way of Chicago, Illinois, 55th in Wabash. Dan Ryan exited, but hey, check this out. Man, I've been having y'all number on a sticky note next to my computer, and I'm like, man, should I call and be one of them fans? I listen to y'all show all the time. Big up for entertaining me while I'm working at home. I keep y'all on my algorithm tough. But check this out. After watching today's game versus Washington, let me tell y'all something. Coach Eberflus, I don't care how many haircuts he get. I don't care how much dippity-do hair gel parties he have at his house. That dude need to go, my guys. That dude need to go. Like, you can't let Tyrique Stevenson be that loose cannon celebrating during the play, before the play even happened, and then being the reason why the play isn't executed successfully after you the one saying we practiced that play 100 times. So that comes down to coaching and discipline. Coaching, discipline, and just being unselfish. And although Tyrique Stevenson, one of them players that need that extra oomph and talking shit to get his game off, and I get that. But in that moment in time, it's bigger than that. And that comes down to coaching and discipline and pulling him to the side saying, we need you, big dog, to do what we done practiced 1 million times. And that didn't happen. And now we looking down the barrel of the gun of some teams that's actually gotten better that we had circled as wins on our schedule. And it's going to be tough sledding. I'm about to get on a plane and go to this Arizona Cardinals game this coming weekend. And I don't feel confident about that at all, considering the offense and the defense is known for giving up ass. So, hey, that's all I got to say. I appreciate y'all for holding me down. Chi-Town up, bear down. Let's get this shit right, my guys. Peace out.
Flus got to go, huh? I mean, that could very well be the case, right? Now, we're 4 wins in, right, to this season. We have 4 wins, 3 losses on the season, and there's a lot of season left to be played. And Matt Eberflus and this Bears team can finish the season very strong, hopefully learning from some of their mistakes. But like I said before, I think Matt Eberflus and how this, depending on how this season ends, right? Because if it ends, let's say the Bears only win 3 more games the rest of the way, then I think that puts a huge target on Matt Eberflus's back. But let's say the Bears finish somewhere around like 9-8, right? 10-7, somewhere around there. I think that Ryan Poles going into this, if he looks at where the Bulls are and say, or where the Bears are, why I keep saying Bulls, where the Bears are and say, all right, I didn't do enough for this offensive line to be what we needed. I'm going to hold myself accountable for that. And Flus, you get the last year of your contract. I'm about to do my thing. I'm about to go out there and improve this offensive line. I'm about to get to work. And next year, you won't have the excuse of a bad offensive line. And if you want to stay on here going forward, this is what you're going to have to do. So, and I get what you're saying, too. You don't want to keep changing coaches. That's been the Bears' history as well. But you do want to have the right coach. You want to have the right coordinators. You want to have the right guys here. So that's a big thing as well. So, we'll see what happens. And I think that Ryan Poles has to hold himself accountable, too. But Matt Eberflus, and through the performance of this team in totality, he's going to be held accountable for that. Because you can't just continue to skate by on how good this defense has been and the fact that you're a defensive-minded head coach. You're still a head coach. You got to be sound. You got to be solid. You got to have your team in a place. You cannot be a head coach in the NFL and just keep trying to get by on the fact that you've improved the defense and your record is improved marginally over your first 2 years in this league. So I think that's what you have to look for. Now, and I can't say that the defense is known for being ass. This defense gave up 1 touchdown to the 3rd highest scoring team in the NFL. Now, that 1 touchdown that they gave it up was a bad spot to be in, but I trust the defense more. Now, the offense, listen, the offense is going to have to show that they can do it against better defenses until I believe it. I got caught up personally in what the Bears did against weak defenses. Now you got to show me you can do it against the better defenses. And if you can, cool, I'm all in. If you can't, hey, the season is going to end pretty quickly there for the Chicago Bears. But you guys can let me know how you feel down below. Make sure you guys are following the show at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.